All right, so if you want to take out your notebook, we're going to take some notes. My advice to you as you watch this video is that you take notes just as if you would if you were sitting in class. If you need to pause whenever I ask a question, pause and see if you can't work it out and answer it on your own, and then you can play. It'll really help in the learning process there if you kind of try it on your own as you go. So we're going to work through 1-1 today, which is points, lines, and planes. And I will apologize ahead of time for the kind of tapping that you hear on my screen. I have a kind of hard-end stylus here that is making some noise on it, but we will get through it together just the same. So we have lots and lots of vocabulary in geometry. You will see that geometry is a lot of vocabulary, theorems, postulates, things that we use to help show us things to solve and things to do within the course. So stay with me, and then we'll kind of apply them and show you how they work. All right, so the first thing we're going to talk about is what we call undefined terms, which is kind of weird, right? How do we have terms that we don't define? And so what this means is we can't really put into words what it is that well, but what we use is we use examples and more descriptions than we do a formal definition, okay? So lots of pictures, and I am not an artist, so y'all, again, bear with me. Okay, so we'll use things like pictures, examples, and other types of descriptions to define these terms. Okay, so those are undefined terms, and I think that you will see whenever you see what these type of terms are, why we call them undefined. They're very common, and you have probably heard them before, I would imagine. Okay, so the first one I want to talk about is a point. See, I told you you would have heard them before. They're pretty easy. And so, but it's still, we need to talk about them and make sure we're all using the same terminology, the same vocabulary as we describe these geometric figures. All right, so a point does not have any size or shape. No size, no shape. See how it's not really I'm describing what it is, but I don't have a set definition here because this is an undefined term, like I said before. All right, so if we have a point, we give it a name. Maybe I call this point, I'll call it point P. Okay, so we use a capital letter, and always capital, to describe a point. Okay, the next one is a line. And I'm sure we all think we know what a line is, and you probably do, okay? It goes on forever and ever in both directions, right? Forever and ever. So we put the arrows on the end here. It's made up of points, so anywhere on there, made up of points. All right, so anywhere on here I can go, there's a point, because it's made up of an infinite number of points, right? It doesn't have any thickness or any width. It's just, it just is, okay? And what we do, we can name this several ways. How to name a line, okay? We can name a line with a lowercase letter, okay? So maybe I call this line M, right? Or I can name it by 2 points on the line. So let's say I name this, say this was point S and point M, okay? So I could call this line SM, okay? Sometimes you will see it written as just the 2 points. Sometimes you will see it written with a little mini line on top to indicate that it's a line, okay? So that's how we would name the line. And you'll have to refer back to lines and name them, so you need to know how we do that properly. All right, next up, is a plane. Okay, not the kind that flies in the air. All right, but this is a surface, a flat surface that is made up of an infinite number of points. It goes on forever in all directions. Let's see if I can draw you a good plane here. I told you I'm not an artist. So on this plane, I have all kinds of points, an infinite number. Maybe this is point K, P, R. So essentially, you really need 3 points to define a plane. Just like on the line, we needed exactly 2 points to define that line, right? We named it with 2 points. On a plane, come on, we need 3 points to define that plane because those we have on any one plane, there are at least 3 points that are not on the same line. So every plane has at least 3 points that don't lie on the same line. So we would name this plane KPR, or we could do PRK, or we could do RPK. Any combination of those letters is absolutely fine. Now you can also, if you wanted to name this, let's say Y, then we could name this plane Y. Okay, this time it's a capital letter. Y is capitalized instead of lowercase, letting us know that it's a plane. Okay? All right. I told you this is a lot of especially 1-1 when we introduce, we're going to talk about lots of definitions and things, so just bear with me. When you have 2 points that are on the same line, and we'll go back to this same line, I think it was S and M. These 2 points, because they're on the same line, points on the same line, we call them collinear. Collinear. Okay? And points that are on the same plane, and in fact, I'm going to go back to this plane slide. Points that are on the same plane, we call them coplanar. Points I keep wanting to stop and go, does everybody understand? Are you good? Because I'm thinking that y'all are sitting right in front of me. But anyway, all right, so there's some vocabulary to get us started. So let's look at a couple examples and see if you can answer. So if you're following along in your book, on page 6 of your book, example number 1, there is a plane drawn. Again, y'all please bear with me because I am not an artist. There is a plane. There we go. It's a plane with not even here. And in this plane, we have a line this way. And we have a line coming up. And you will notice a dashed part of this line. That is indicating that the line is going through that plane. Okay, imagine a sheet of paper here, and you stuck a pencil straight through the middle of the piece of paper. That's what this vertical line kind of is doing. And so this line is line N, and we've got points V, W, and X, and Y. We've got a point T up here, a point Z. This is line R, and this is a big P for plane P. And so we've got some questions here that we're going to answer. And this is a good point as we go through here. If you want to pause as I ask the questions, and then you can go back and you can kind of answer them, and then you can play and see if you got them correct, okay? So the first thing is we want to name a line containing point W. A line containing point W. So again, if you want to pause for just a second and do this. All right, so there's several ways we can do this. We could, the line containing point W could be line VW, line WX, line WY. All of these are acceptable ways to name this line, okay? And I could keep going. I could do line VX, and I don't want to bore you too much, but I could keep, I'm going to do dot, 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 because I could keep going with naming these lines like this, right? All of those lines, all of those names of lines, name this that contains the point W. Now, I could also name it as this lowercase script letter N, line N. All of those are acceptable, okay? Next, what I want to do is I want to name the plane. Name the plane that contains the point X. Again, if you want to pause, feel free to pause, okay? And I'm going to go ahead. So remember, I need 3 points to name a plane. And if you look, the one that I do want to point out to you is notice this point T. And remember what I told you. Imagine a piece of paper and a pencil that's just stuck vertically through the paper. This T is not on the plane. The top part of this line is not on the plane. So don't use that point as you name this plane, okay? But I could name this plane P. Or I could name it plane. Remember the 3 points, right? And I want it to contain X. So let's see, X is on the line and it's in the plane. So whatever plane I name, it's going to contain X as long as it's these that doesn't have the T in it, right? So it could be plane VWX. It could be plane XYZ. It could be plane, it doesn't even have to have the X in the naming. It could be plane VW. Oh, I already did that, didn't I? VWZ, VWY. Any combination here, as long as you're not including that T, is perfectly acceptable. Okay, and I won't name them all because there are 36 different ways that we could name this. All right, so a lot of times when we talk about lines and planes, we talk about places where they intersect, okay, or intersections. And this is really important because there's a lot of important things that happen at these intersections that we will get to later, or things that occur when we intersect certain geometric figures, okay? But for right now, we've talked about lines and planes, right? So if you intersect two lines, here we'll call this line L, we'll call this line K. Two lines will always intersect at a point. Two lines okay. Notice how I'm naming. Remember, I told you that was important. Okay, you got a little script lowercase letter here for the lines, and a point is a dot with a capital letter. All right. And then we also, oh my goodness, I'm not going to be able to draw this too well, but I will try. Let's say we have two planes that intersect. Now remember, planes go on forever, right? So even though you don't see lines, these sides are going on forever and ever and ever. What happens? Oh my goodness, I hope this looks okay. my pen all right? Okay. Oh, terrible, y'all, terrible. Okay, but anyway, these two lines, or these two planes, are intersecting at a line, okay? And I always like to use pieces of paper. Let's call this plane A, this is plane B, this will be line L. If you think about these being pieces of paper, okay, and what would happen if they intersected and the pieces of paper went on forever, they're always going to intersect at a line. At a line, okay? So lines intersect at a point, planes intersect at a line, all right? All right, one final little example. Let's talk about how we draw these figures, okay? And we'll be in the coordinate plane a lot, which is your XY coordinate plane. So let's say I asked you to construct line AB and CD, and that they intersect at point E, okay, and that A is -2, 4, B is 0, -2, C is -3, 0, and D is 3, 3, okay? Let's say that point F is coplanar. Now remember, coplanar means it's on the same plane, okay? F is coplanar with these points, with points A, B, C, and D, but it is not collinear, and that means same line with line AB or line CD. Okay, so let's see if we can get this drawn out. So AB and CD intersect at point E. So let's do this first. Let's plot these points first and let's see what we got. All right, I'm just going to do a little sketch here. Of course, you would be on graph paper doing things a little bit nicer than what I'm doing here, but let's say -2 and 4. Always label, very, very, very important that you label. So I got -2, 4. I got 0, -2, and that's my B. I have -3, 0, that's my C, and 3, 3, that's my D, okay? And so I have line AB, and you'll want to use a straight edge to connect these, and then line CD. Oh, that didn't even make it, did it? Right, line CD. So here are my two lines, and remember it said that they intersect at point E. So where they intersect, and this is terribly inaccurate, and I'm sorry, y'all. Of course, get on your graph paper there and make yours look a lot better and use your straight edges. So here is point E, and then I've got F that needs to be somewhere on this plane, but yet it's not on any of the lines. So maybe I'll just come here and put point F, okay? And now I have satisfied all of the requirements, all right? I think that's it for your undefined terms and 1-1.